Hey everyone, and welcome back to One Game at a Time for your daily dose of gaming news. I'm your host, and we've got a pretty interesting mix of stories for you today. Everything from rank reset reversals, some surprise releases, and even some shady retail practices. So let's just jump right into it.
Sounds good.
All right, so first up, we're looking at Marvel Rivals. Remember that whole mid-season rank reset that had everyone in an uproar? Well, NetEase Games has heard the community loud and clear, and they're reversing their decision.
Yeah, that's right. They've actually come out and acknowledged that that planned four-division drop was causing a lot of stress and, was kind of taking away from the enjoyment of the game for a lot of players.
Yeah, especially considering players put in a ton of time and effort to climb those ranks. It's like all for nothing if you just suddenly drop down.
So what's the new plan then?
Well, instead of the reset, they're shifting the focus to rewards. So reach certain ranks by February 21st.
Yeah.
And you can snag some pretty sweet loot, including a gold rank costume and crests of honor. Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a developer actually listen to their players and make changes accordingly.
Absolutely. Hopefully this sets a positive example for other studios that might be facing similar situations.
Yeah, for sure. All right, now let's shift gears a little bit to a story that's been generating some heat in the UK. Retailer Game is under fire for their pricing on the new Pokemon TCG, Scarlet and Violet Prismatic Evolutions mini tins.
Oh yeah, these mini tins are in super high demand right now, and it seems like Game has kind of taken advantage of that by slapping a 19.99 delivery fee on them.
Yeah, almost 20 quid just for shipping. For tiny tins that could easily fit in a regular envelope. I mean, come on. A lot of folks are accusing them of straight up scalping their own product.
Yeah, I can see why people are upset, especially since, Game staff have reported that stock was actually prioritized for online sales, leaving a lot of people who were promised in-store availability on release day empty-handed.
Yikes. Not a good look for Game. And to make matters worse, they're still offering standard delivery for larger items like consoles. It just makes that whole oversized delivery fee for the mini tins even more suspicious.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a deliberate move to just capitalize on that high demand and limited availability.
Ugh. All right, well, let's move on to some more positive news, shall we? We actually have a surprise early release to announce. Strategy fans rejoice.
Yeah.
Because Civilization 7 has officially dropped for PC, a whole day ahead of schedule.
That's right. You can jump into building your empires and conquering the world right now. But don't worry, the launch day festivities are still happening tomorrow. The devs will be hosting a live stream where they'll be playing through the Antiquity Age as Machiavelli leading Rome.
Awesome. And I hear they'll be taking community questions as well.
Yeah, so be sure to tune in if you're a Civ fan.
Now, I know this is a deep dive, and, we assume you know the basics, but just in case, what can players expect from Civilization 7?
Well, you've got all the classic civilization elements, choosing your civilization, building cities, advancing your technology, and either conquering or cooperating with your rivals to achieve victory. There are also, different editions available to suit different preferences.
Always a good time. Be sure to check out the live stream on YouTube and Twitch. Finally, let's talk about something that's been plaguing digital storefronts for a while now. Shovelware.
Yeah, these low-effort, often AI-generated games, they've been flooding platforms like the PlayStation Store, and it seems like Sony is finally taking steps to clean things up.
About time. You remember how Steam started banning games with forced ad watching? Looks like PlayStation is following suit, cracking down on these low-quality titles.
Yeah, one example is Supermarket Simulator Pro by Random Spin. It's completely vanished from the PlayStation Store. It's a small victory, but hopefully a sign of things to come.
I hope so. A more curated experience would be great. But it's a bit of a whack-a-mole situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get rid of one and another one pops up.
Unfortunately, yeah. There's still plenty of other low-effort titles out there, like Clothing Supermarket Store Simulator. And Mechanics Supermarket Simulator.
Yeah.
And the pipeline is still packed with upcoming Supermarket Simulator.
Oh, come on.
It never ends.
Like they're just churning these things out. Well, hopefully, platforms like PlayStation can stay ahead of the curve and keep those storefronts clean. It's all about quality over quantity, right?
Absolutely. Players deserve a curated experience where they can easily find games that are actually worth their time and money.
Couldn't agree more. All right, well, that's going to do it for our gaming news roundup today. But stick around because we've got a lot more to discuss. We're going to be diving deeper into some of these topics and exploring the bigger picture of what's happening in the gaming world. So don't go anywhere.
It feels like it's an uphill battle sometimes.
Yeah.
But at least platforms are starting to acknowledge the problem and take action. It's definitely a step in the right direction.
For sure. You know what's interesting about this whole situation
Yeah.
is that it really brings up a bigger conversation about discoverability on these digital storefronts.
That's a great point. With so many games being released every single day, it's becoming increasingly difficult for those quality indie titles to stand out, especially with all this shovelware cluttering up the marketplace.
Exactly. And it's not just about removing the bad games. It's also about creating systems that actually help players find those hidden gems, the games that might otherwise get lost in the flood.
Absolutely. Personalized recommendations,
Mhm.
improved search algorithms, maybe even curated lists by, industry experts.
Yeah.
There are so many possibilities for platforms to improve discoverability and help players find games they'll genuinely love.
For sure. Now, speaking of finding things you love, let's circle back to that Marvel Rivals situation for a moment. It really highlights the evolving relationship between developers and players in today's gaming landscape.
It's pretty fascinating, isn't it? It feels like we're seeing this shift from that traditional one-way communication, where developers just released a game and that was it, to a much more collaborative approach.
It's true. It used to be that players had very little say in the development process. But now with social media and online communities, their voices are amplified, and developers are actually paying attention.
Yeah, the Marvel Rivals situation is like a perfect example of that. NetEase Games directly responded to player feedback and reversed the decision that was, negatively impacting the community.
Exactly. It just shows that developers are starting to recognize the value of listening to their players and actually understanding their concerns.
It's a win-win for everyone involved. Developers get valuable insights into how players are experiencing their games, and players feel heard and respected, which, leads to a stronger sense of community and engagement.
And you could even argue that it leads to better games overall.
100%. When developers and players work together, it fosters a much more positive and collaborative environment where games can truly thrive.
Well said. All right, let's turn our attention back to game. And that controversial delivery fee for those Pokemon mini tins. It's not just about the money. It also raises questions about retailer responsibility in today's digital market.
Yeah, you're right. In a market where physical scarcity can be artificially created, the line between legitimate business practices and taking advantage of consumers becomes very blurry.
It's true. We've seen similar situations with limited edition consoles and graphics cards, where scalpers buy up all the stock and resell it at inflated prices.
And while game isn't exactly scalping in the traditional sense, their decision to charge an exorbitant delivery fee for a product that's already in high demand and short supply just feels ethically questionable.
Yeah, especially when you consider that they seem to be prioritizing online sales over in-store availability, potentially leaving those customers who were promised stock on release day empty-handed.
It all just feeds into a larger conversation about fairness and accessibility in the gaming market. As players and consumers, we need to be aware of these practices and demand transparency and ethical behavior from retailers.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Uh,
Yeah, it's a tough one, but, it's a discussion worth having. But on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive for today.
yeah, it has been quite a journey through the gaming news cycle, hasn't it?
It really has everything from rank reset reversals and surprise releases
Mhm.
to, shady retail practices and the never-ending battle against shovelware. I swear there's never a dull moment in the gaming world, is there?
Never. And as we saw today, the relationship between developers, retailers, and players, it's constantly evolving.
For sure. It's a very dynamic landscape. And it's important to stay informed and engaged.
Absolutely. By being aware of these issues and sharing our perspectives, I think we can really contribute to a more positive and enjoyable gaming experience for everyone.
Well said. Well, hey, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the latest gaming news.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
And remember, if you're looking for a way to escape the stress of all those supermarket simulators, Civilization II is out now.
A perfect way to unwind.
For sure. All right, well, until next time, keep on gaming. And keep those conversations going. We'll see you back here for another deep dive on one game at a time.